Philippides made the pledge to Pan at the mouth of his cave. The darkness beyond the stone threshold seemed to breathe, and something ancient stirred within. Terror carried him the rest of his race, not the clean terror of Persian spears, but something deeper, older, that crawled beneath his skin and whispered in languages that predated Greek tongues. Most will say it was the run that killed him, but it was panic. The promise of worship tasted sweet to Pan. He hadn't tasted that sweet drip of ambrosia in a long while. Centuries had passed since mortals truly feared him, since they understood that nature itself could hunger. Now this messenger had reminded him of what sustenance felt like, and the awakening was exquisite. On the plains of Marathon, bronze met bronze under an indifferent sun. The Greeks saw battle, formations wheeling, spears thrusting, the familiar choreography of war. They fought with the desperate courage of men defending hearth and homeland, pushing against impossible odds. The Persians saw something else entirely. They saw shadows that moved wrong, heard pipes playing discordant melodies that made their blood run backward. Ancient eyes watched from behind every blade of grass, and the very earth beneath their feet seemed to pulse with malevolent life. What had been a confident advance became a rout, as seasoned warriors fled screaming from an enemy that existed in the space between sight and sanity. From his mountain perch, Pan laughed, not the rustic chuckle of a shepherd god, but something that made stones crack and birds fall silent. The terror rolling off 10,000 Persian souls was intoxicating, more nourishing than he'd tasted since mortals first learned to make fire. Each scream was a prayer, each fleeing step an offering. When the dust settled and the Greeks claimed their impossible victory, Pan descended to walk among the bodies. The blood tasted of glory, rich with the copper tang of fear and the salt of shed tears. He moved through the aftermath like a connoisseur sampling vintage wine, savoring what centuries of neglect had denied him. Finally, he laid down his flute, that simple reed instrument that had marked him as merely pastoral, merely safe. With reverence, he touched the cornerstone to his new temple, the altar the grateful Athenians would build on their sacred hill. A reverence the devil usually doesn't hold, for this was more than victory. This was a new age, and he was grinning with the possibilities. The world was full of cities, full of people who had forgotten how to properly fear. But they would remember. Oh, how they would remember.